Okay. So good morning, one and all. We will start with the lecture now. I will share my screen with you. So in our last lecture, we have seen the characteristics of private cloud. So five important characteristics are there for private cloud. If you get any kind of a MCQ based on this, then you may get the options like scalability, accessibility of private clouds, then elasticity or elastic, shared and metered consumption. So these are the five very important characteristics of private cloud. We had a discussion on this in our last lecture. So scalability in terms of the storage of the data on your clouds, accessibility, giving access to all the material or all the data present on your clouds, and giving different kind of access to different users. So that is nothing but the accessibility, elasticity, or elasticness of your private clouds. So how they could be considered under elastic, or how much data you want to share, utilize out of that cloud. So that much access you have. For others, means as per users requirement, you will get the access to your storage of data. Shared is sharing of the data within different users and all. And then metered consumption, so whatever data you are using, so you will be charged for that data only. So that is nothing but the metered consumption. So that part we have seen in our last lecture, and some of the videos we have seen for the private cloud. So how you are going to use it, or the basics related to private cloud we have seen in our last lecture. So coming to the next part, the different architectural points or the details we have seen in our last lecture. I will cover the things in the study material also, because it is not possible to put each and every point on the slide. but I will definitely share the material with you, which will include the details. So for the cloud stack or OpenStack, the architectural point or architecture diagrams are different diagrams are available for the same. If you go through the Google or any other website data, so you are getting many images. So whichever will be suitable with your description, you can go for it. Okay, so many of the diagrams are available on the network resources. You can go through any of them. So I will try to put one single easy material with you, and it will then be your duty to go with that data which you will feel feasible. So we have started with the cloud stacks. Okay. So as we know, cloud stack, or we can say that it is the Apache cloud stack, which is the open source infrastructure. So what is open source? It is available freely, and so it is an open source infrastructure as a service. So IaaS, that details we have seen in our first unit only. So it is open source IaaS platform which will allow the IT service providers to offer public cloud services. So cloud stack can also be used by business that want to provide their own private cloud and hybrid cloud services on the premises. Okay, so cloud stack will include a compute function that allocates the virtual machines to individual servers, a network function that manages switches to create and manage logical networks, object and block storage system, an image management function, and a cloud computing management interface that supports all the software stacks components. So this is the benefit of cloud stack. So cloud stack will allow the administrators to deploy and manage large networks of virtual machines running with the hypervisors like VMware, KVM, Citrix, then Zen cloud platforms, Oracle VM servers, etc. So the users can manage their clouds deployments through a command line interface, CLI, which we know as, and so you can have command line interface as well as the web interface with the cloud stack. Cloud stack also provides the application program interface, that is the API, which will be compatible with Amazon EC2, S3 to facilitate the hybrid cloud deployments for us. So Cloud Stack, which was initially developed by cloud.com, which was acquired by Citrix in 2011 and turned over to the Apache Software Foundation in 2012. So development is now governed by the Apache Foundation with the code available under the Apache 2.0 license. So this is the basic information for the cloud for you. So we are having some basics related to the storage, networking, and IAM services. So if we go for storage, so first of all, the storage of Cloud Stack. So Cloud Stack will define two types of storage, that is the primary and secondary. So primary storage can be accessed by either the NFS So additionally, direct attached storage may be used for primary storage, and the secondary storage is always accessible using NFS. So primary and secondary, these two parts are there. So the related video will go through so that we can get. Whether the video viewable to you people? Let me check.
Recording in progress.
So I think it will not be viewable. Let me share the video.
Hello, this is Michael with midnetworks.com. In this video, I will show you how to manage storage volumes in CloudStack. CloudStack provides a high level of flexibility when it comes to storage and virtual machine management. At any given point in time, you can perform a number of administration tasks without being locked to software or hardware limitations. Now, you can add or remove storage volumes with a few clicks. You can also attach and deattach volumes between different VM, upload and download volumes from and to your cloud account. This may sound like a lot to cover in one video, but in reality, it's quite simple. I'm going to walk you through these tasks one by one. Let's start by showing you how to add a storage volume to a cloud server. From the Storage tab, click on Add Volume. I'll add a name for my volume. Let's call it Disk 1. Select the appropriate zone, and finally select one of the available disk offerings. For this demo, I will select a 25 gigabyte disk, then click OK. The disk has been created. All we have to do now is to attach it to a virtual machine. So let's click on the disk, click on Attach Disk, then select the VM that I'd like to attach my disk to. For this demo, I will add this volume to my Windows machine. Let's check the disk we just added on my Windows VM. From Server Manager, I will navigate to Disk Management. Now you see the additional disk has been added, and it's now presented as an unallocated disk. Now I will initialize the disk and format it. It's important to keep in mind that we can change the size of this disk volume at any time by clicking on View Volumes. In this instance, select Data Disk Volume, then click on Resize Volume. Okay, now I'm going to create a few files to test. Now we're done adding the storage volume. Let's try to deattach this volume from this virtual machine. From Disk Management, I will take the disk offline. Then I will navigate to the Storage tab, select the disk, and this time I will click on the deattach icon, then click Yes. On my Windows machine, you see that the disk is no longer visible. Since the disk volume is no longer attached to any machine, I can attach it to another machine. I also have the option to download this disk volume to my PC for backup or testing purposes. Let's give this a try. I'm going to download this disk to my PC. It may take a few minutes while it gets downloaded. Now we have the volume downloaded. You can see that it has .vhd extension, so technically we can use this file with any virtualization software that supports this format. Since I have Oracle VM VirtualBox installed on my laptop, let me try to add this .vhd volume to my Windows 7 VM and start it and see if we can view the content of this disk. Okay, I see a new disk has been added, and I'm able to view the content of the disk I had created earlier. We also have the option to download the root disk for my VMs and use them locally. I went ahead and downloaded the root volume for my Windows machine prior to recording this video. I've also created a VM and attached the root disk to it. So now I'm able to start and run it locally. This can be quite helpful if we need to perform testing on my VM locally without impacting the production environment. Finally, we have the option to upload disk volumes back to your CloudStack account. I'll be covering that on a separate video. For now, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and stay tuned for more.
So this is how we are going to implement the storage part. Then coming towards the networking part, how the networking services are there in case of cloud.
Hey. Hey, this is Anton over at thehyperadvisor.com. So this is the last video in a little series of videos that I was doing just to get up to this point where we can log into CloudStack and set up an advanced networking zone. So let's get into it. I'm logging into the console. We can go into the infrastructure section and see that nothing has been set up and configured thus far. We'll go ahead and into zones, and we'll go ahead and set up a zone here. We're going to click on advanced, and then we're going to give our zone a name. Let's call it zone 1. We'll put in the IP address information for the DNS. I'm using KVM as the hypervisor. I'm going to go ahead and clear this guest seeder that's in here by default, and then choose next. Now I do have two physical network adapters in this in the KVM host, and did that on purpose, of course, so that I can separate the networking roles or types in CloudStack when we do the advanced zone. So if we were just doing a basic zone, you only get the option of configuring one physical network name here, and with the advanced zone you get to set up multiple. All right, so I'm going to set up these two and have the guest network here use GRE. Now when we do this, we'll also have to go ahead and manually type in the network name, or what it calls the KVM traffic label. So this is basically the bridge name that we've configured in one of the previous videos. And we'll go ahead and do that for all of them, all of the network types here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and choose next. I'll go ahead and set up a public IP range. So this will be the public IPs that will get used. I'm going to next, and we'll go ahead and set up a pod, and then configure the networking information for this here as well, and some an address range for the system. This will be used for the system VMs, and we'll just continue with the from the IP range that we put on the public side. Go ahead and click next, and let's set up the virtual network ID range. And for this, I'm just going to do 10 to 20. You should probably set this up if you're doing it in production, so it doesn't overlap any of your VLAN IDs. But in this case, I have no VLAN set up, so I'm going to put 10 to 20 here. Click next. I'm going to set up the cluster. Then we're going to add a host. So this is one of the KVM hosts that was configured during the installation. Through the wizard, it only allows you to do one host, so we'll have to add the second host after the wizard has created the zone and all the other depots and everything, and then we get the option where we can go back in and edit the cluster and add in another host. So in this section, we're going to add the primary storage. Just going to call it primary. This is going to be NFS, and we're going to point it to our NFS mount point for the primary storage mount point. Now in the secondary storage area here, we're going to set up another NFS location. Go ahead and put a name in here for secondary. Just go ahead and point this to the same NFS server, but a different mount point. And it's going to secondary mount point. We'll go ahead and click next, and all we have to do now is do launch zone, and this will go on out and configure all the stuff that we basically put in the parameters for in the wizard. Okay, now the zone has been configured. We'll go ahead and say yes to enable it. So this will go ahead and enable the zone. And if we go in here, we can see that we have the zone, pod, clustered hosts, etc. in here. And pretty soon we should get system VMs that populates into the environment. So I'm going to go ahead and add the second host to the cluster at this time.
I think we should explore a few solutions.
Grammarly's
And then coming to the IAM services. So the IAM services provided by okay, so IAM services provided by the cloud stack. So they are nothing but the identity and access management services provided by the cloud stack. So what is this IAM exactly? So IAM, it manages the end-to-end life cycle of the user identities and entitlements across all enterprise resources, both in data centers and in the cloud. So related to them, whatever the users are there, so identifying them and giving the titles to them that this will be working, this particular user will be working for this task, like that services will be given, or those are set by the IAM. Then again, so it is the foundation control of cloud security, as it authenticates the users and regulates the access to the system, networks, and the data. So cloud identify managers grants the users access and entitles across a wide range of cloud and on the premises applications and services. So the organizations can also enable a zero trust strategy to establish user identity. Cloud identity management services will utilize the open standards integration for reduced overhead and maintenance. The process will involve validating the user identities and their associated access rights to the particular system. So as we know, the database administrator works. So how to give different accesses to different users. So that kind of a services will be provided here in case of identity and access management. So if we go further, so what is exactly the identity management is? So identity management will provide the solutions for identity governance, then access management, and some directory services uh, present over the cloud. So identity management will help the organization to strengthen the security. Definitely it will strengthen the security. Also it simplify the compliance and capture the business opportunities around the mobile and social accesses. So identity governance is what? So identity governance, it will manage the users provisioning and deprovisioning, and provides the actionable identity intelligence that enables the rapid remediation of high risk user entitlements. So self-service features allows users to initiate the application onboarding on a for the on premises and cloud applications using the APIs. And the access management will deliver the risk aware end-to-end multi-factor authentication, MFA, and single sign-on, that is SSO, that integrates the identities and system across the cloud and on-premise. So what is SSO? Single sign-on. What does it mean? So at a time, you can sign in with a single system only. Okay. So nowadays we can see that different users can log on to the Gmail by using, say, different devices. Like you can log on to Gmail by using laptop, your mobile, maybe your desktop, or any other device at a time. But here for giving the access to the cloud, so single sign-on facility will be given here. So with access management, the organizations may gain the flexibility to control access for the existing enterprise platform, and it will support migration to cloud. So access management will ensure the policies follow the user regardless of the device and location to secure access the data anywhere, anytime from any of the device. So access management features will provide the adaptive authentication, then reducing the risk by increasing login requirements for the users based on the device, location, and behavior when access is deemed at high risk. So these context-aware policies and authentication capabilities are designed to address security threats to business critical data. So related to this, the video we will go with.
Enterprise security is complicated. The application mix has increased, and so have access and regulations. Multi-factor authentication is a requirement. Adaptive and intelligent real-time risk-aware access is a necessity. 360-degree visibility of users, applications and access is a must-have, and compliance and auditability are mission critical. Oracle, with its proven track record of enterprise security leadership, gives you all of this, along with a best-in-class user experience. Oracle Identity Management is the comprehensive identity solution, with identity governance, access management, and directory. Oracle Identity Management 12c is cloud-ready and packed with new features. Resiliency and performance enhancements have been added to all products in the portfolio. Oracle Identity Governance combines identity management, role analytics and management, entitlement management, access certification, and segregation of duties. Oracle Access Management combines web access management, single sign-on, federation, multi-factor authentication, and adaptive risk-aware access. And Oracle Unified Directory combines directory virtualization and synchronization. With Oracle Identity Governance, role authoring is now in the self-service UI, so you can author roles and move to role-based access control. Application onboarding is easy, with a wizard that lets you fully define the target application and bring users and their access into Oracle Identity Governance. Access certification now offers a large set of content and reviewer selection options, so you can easily implement even the most demanding compliance use cases. And there are a lot of other features added, simplifying deployment, upgrades, patching, and diagnostics. Oracle Access Management has great new features to help you with increased workload mix, like support for OAuth 2.0 and OpenID Connect, which make API, bots, and other modern use cases easy. Setting up multi-data center deployment is just a few REST APIs away. You can configure a new instance of Oracle Access Management, set up replication, and cut over to the new instance with ease. REST APIs have also been introduced that provide rich diagnostics. Directory services introduce REST SCIM APIs for data access, so your modern workloads have an LDAP alternative to data access. REST API support extends to administrative features, so you can manage configuration and policies using REST APIs. Oracle Unified Directory fully supports proxy virtualization, and for every Oracle Virtual Directory plugin, there is now an equivalent workflow element. The Oracle Identity Management products are available on OCI Marketplace, so you can create new deployments with ease. Alternatively, run them on a cloud of your choice using Docker and Kubernetes. Oracle's complete, integrated, scalable, next-generation identity management portfolio meets today's security challenges through an industry-leading suite of identity management solutions. Learn more at oracle.com/identity.
Now coming to the next, that is managing access with Cloud IAM.
It also brings the responsibility to ensure the data is secure, meaning that only the right data is shared with the right people. In today's episode of BigQuery Spotlight, we're talking about how to use Google Cloud's Identity and Access Management service to define which users can query in your projects and access your datasets. BigQuery is a fully managed service. That means it takes advantage of Google's infrastructure security. Google secures its infrastructure end to end, from physical security of its services to stringent operational practices. But today's episode is about the role you play in keeping your projects and data secure, specifically how you share project and dataset access with different end users and groups in your company. The key to managing access to your projects and data is the Identity and Access Management Service, or IAM. Cloud IAM allows you to manage access control by defining three things: member, role, and policy, meaning you specify who has what access to which resource. Let's take a closer look at each of these. First, the member, or who has access. You can define a member in several ways. One way is to identify end users by their email address if it's associated with a Google account. You can also set access for a group of users by using a Google group, G Suite domain, or Cloud Identity domain as the member. Sometimes it's not a person, but an application or service that needs access to your BigQuery data. In this case, you can create a service account, which is a special type of Google account intended to represent a non-human user. When you create a service account, it is assigned a special address, which can be used as the member's identity when defining access. Want to give a dataset access to any logged in user? There is a special identifier called All Authenticated Users, which you can use as the member in this case. This is exactly how we make our BigQuery public datasets available to all BigQuery users. Once you've defined the member, you need to decide what role to give that member. A role includes a set of permissions that determines which operations the member is allowed to perform. Cloud IAM provides several predefined roles that include a combination of these permissions. They include things like the ability to view or edit datasets and the ability to run queries and store data which are billed to the project. It is also possible to create custom roles. These allow you to bundle one or more permissions into a role to meet your specific needs. You will have to manage your custom role as new features, permissions, and services are added to Google Cloud. So for this reason, we recommend sticking to predefined roles. You can always assign more than one predefined role to a member. Together, the member and the role make up the policy, which is then applied to a specific resource. The policy could be attached to a specific table, dataset, or the GCP project itself. At the project level, permissions apply to all current and future datasets that are part of the project. Let's see how it works in a specific scenario. Suppose you're a retail company with two groups of data analysts. The first group analyzes your retail sales, and the second analyzes customer service requests. These two types of data are stored in separate datasets within your project. Both groups of analysts need full access, read and write, to the dataset that they work on, and access to run queries in the project. Let's head to the console and set up the policies. You'll start by giving the sales analyst the BigQuery data editor role for the retail sales dataset. To set roles at the dataset level, select the dataset from Resources, then click Share Dataset near the right-hand side of the window. On the Dataset Permissions tab, enter the entity you want to add into the Add Members text box. For Select a Role, select BigQuery Data Editor and click Add, then click Done. Then follow the same steps to give the Customer Service Analyst the BigQuery Data Editor role for the Customer Service dataset. You'll notice we're using Google Groups to grant roles. Google Groups are a convenient way to create a policy for a collection of users. You can grant and change access for a whole group at once instead of individual users one at a time. Then you can easily add or remove members directly from the Google Group itself. Giving the analyst the data editor role at the dataset level gives them the ability to access all the tables within that particular dataset, but it does not give them the permission to actually run queries billed to that project. For that, they must be granted the project level role called BigQuery User. To grant roles at the project level, you'll need to head to the navigation window, hover over IAM and Admin, and then click to select IAM. At the top of the screen, click Add. In the New Members box, enter both email addresses to represent your analyst groups. Select the BigQuery user role and click Save. Now, your two teams are ready and equipped to analyze their data securely. If you want to learn more about BigQuery, check out the rest of our playlist, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube for other great content. Look out for our next episode of BigQuery Spotlight.
So now we are done with OpenStack, CloudStack, and then in our next lecture we will go for OpenStack. Okay. So we will stop here. You can put your attendance in the chat and then you can leave. Thank you. All others, put your attendance and then you can leave. आकांक्षा हजारे, आकांक्षा क्षीरसागर, दीप्ती पाटील, काजल खराडे, प्रशांत जलजिरे. राधिका सापरे, काजल खराडे, सोनाली लांडगे, अनुराधा ढोपे, वैशाली सुळे, ओंकार पवार.
Yes, ma'am.
Put your attendance and then you can leave.
Okay, ma'am. Put.
Okay, then you can leave. So that
Can I leave, ma'am?
Yes, sure. So that I can stop the recording. Let all participants should leave first.